Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today, as this is a Monday podcast episode where we focus on a particular astrological topic or theme. And today we're going to be discussing part 2 of the Venus retrograde journey, as she just stationed retrograde on March 1st at 10 degrees 50 minutes of Aries and will travel back to 24 degrees 37 minutes of Pisces until April 12th. Over these 6 weeks, Venus is going to have significant transiting aspects to the outer planets, as well as to the Sun and Mercury. Plus, she changes signs as she moves back into Pisces. So we're going to start with just a few themes to be aware of here, because I think it's interesting to note how the Venus retrograde moves from fire back to water, just like the Mars retrograde has done. Mars started at 6 degrees of Leo and re-entered Cancer. Well, here Venus is beginning her retrograde at nearly 11 degrees of Aries and returning to the depths of Pisces. And she's crossing the elements that also involve beginnings and endings. The transition from fire back into water extinguishes that initial fiery passion, motivation, desire that the fire signs embody and put into action. So not only does this extinguish the Aries flames of initiation, but there's also this return to her soul. And I feel with the strong Pisces energies that we have right now with the Pisces stellium, there's a return to her God self, her soul wisdom, her intuitive guidance. There's a return to the feminine goddess expressions. There's a sense too that Venus is being slowed down intentionally by the universe so that she moves ahead with greater intentionality and consciousness, so as not to repeat a cycle that she's actually thoroughly completed and ended. But simultaneously, she's receiving activations during this 6-week retrograde journey, and I'll be discussing more of those activations here in today's show. Now, Venus retrograde words are different than retrograde terms we use for Mercury or Mars. Venus retrograde terms are a little softer and gentler, and they involve revisiting parts of ourselves that create, connect, value, and love. So Venus retrograde words revalue, renovate, redecorate, retract, revisit, reconnect, recreate, and allow for a revision that's based in her core values. This is a significant Venus retrograde where we are reprogramming our value systems to ensure they are in alignment with more of how we love and accept ourselves now. In order to do so, we have to be honest about what we need to further release and let go of, which will certainly be the case when she re-enters Pisces on March 27th. I will go through the chronological dates of the transiting aspects here shortly. Now, another interesting cosmic twist that we have going on during this particular Venus retrograde is that it does almost identically coincide with Lent. Now, Lent is connected to the Christian church, so you may or may not be familiar with the practices associated with Lent, but it lasts for 40 days, which is a Venus retrograde cycle. This year it begins March 5th to April 17th, so you can see that it's overlapping the Venus retrograde, and Lent is about denying ourselves of pleasures, urges, desires. It's looking at the role of temptation, impulsivity, and where we seek immediate gratification. Lent is often where an individual gives up something in order to better themselves or improve themselves, whatever the intention may be. And we don't experience it with a Venus retrograde every year, since Venus retrograde doesn't occur every year. But Lent is associated with Venus retrograde principles, where there is a denial of what you want perhaps through fasting or another practice that instills greater self-discipline. I know that there are other deeper biblical meanings associated with this for some people, but I just wanted to provide a general understanding that Lent is Venus retrograde. And here we have it occurring during the same period of time where Venus also re-enters Pisces, which is also connected to worship, spiritual practices, seeking a higher understanding, and Pisces has also longly been associated with Christianity. Pisces directs us to unity consciousness, and for some, this also means Christ consciousness. So all this to say that it could be a Venus retrograde journey where more people are actually aware of self-discipline practices, retracting, and feeling a desire to improve themselves in some way. Whatever that looks like at an individual level based on each individual's sovereignty, beliefs, and free will. I think it makes this Venus retrograde much bigger energetically around the globe, and it could bring up some interesting conversations or insights around what you want to reprogram and choose differently in your life. Now, typical Venus retrograde themes take us into what we love, value, and want in our lives. Venus is the energy of reception, receiving, what she magnetizes in and pulls in through her core self-love frequency. Venus is how we connect and partner with others. Venus relates to your love language, how you feel loved, how you give love, what love even means to you in your life and in your daily world. Venus themes to be aware of then during the Venus retrograde involve reconsidering what you need, desire, and seek from a partner. This also extends to friendships, sisters, and all women in your life as Venus rules feminine energies within all of us. Venus retrograde themes will bring up what is not working, where there is discomfort. Venus in Aries could give you a rise in adrenaline, angry words, feeling fiery, feeling you need to do something about it. But the retrograde is asking you to step back, temper those flames, work with it internally, and listen to what the core need is. So this brings up reprogramming with people in your life around what they need, what they seek now, and how that pertains to your relationship with them. Venus retrograde can bring up financial and monetary themes as well. What you spend money on, what you invest in, what matters to you, what you buy, what you possess. This Venus retrograde in Aries is saying slow down the impulsive buying. Perhaps delete what's in your cart or step away from that need to experience immediate gratification. Look at what patterns are persisting. Does it serve you? Is it the best use of your financial energy? And does it really fulfill you, or is it hollow? Does it feel like you're spending money on things that you really don't want and you really don't need? So the Venus retrograde in Aries is going to slow down that impulsivity and bring us to greater awareness where you just pause, take a beat, and check in with how is this going to truly fulfill me? Do I really need this? Or do I think I want it and that overrides my common sense? Because that Venus in Aries can be very responsive and immediate and then realize later, I already have this pair of jeans at home. I don't need an 8th pair of black heels. Or maybe you're realizing where you buy food and throw it out. So again, this is a time to look at how your financial energy is showing up in your life. This also applies to the bigger financial issues related to what you own and invest in, what you purchase, and also what you're responsible for because you own it, such as property, or the responsibility of the credit card bills and those interest rates. So this could be a time to refinance, reprioritize your monthly expenditures, or slow down and get a grasp on your own financial picture and what is associated with it. At a more daily level, this is where people cancel reservations and obligations. They step away, they don't show up, they don't want to buy something, they don't want to pay for it. And all of this reveals a shift in values, a shift in what matters and what's important. Venus also rules our appearance, beauty, style, self-confidence, and this is heightened in Aries. So this is not a good time for any particular laser treatments, Botox, or surgery, especially to the face, which is what Aries rules. Venus retrograde in Aries can also have flare-ups in skin, such as acne, rosacea, a rash, allergic reactions, hormones, blood work. The Venus retrograde could reveal where there are issues or problems associated with any of these areas, and then redirect you to a solution or new approach to take. Venus retrograde in Aries is also going to bring up how you feel about yourself, self-esteem, self-value, how you love and accept yourself, and how you then create what matters to you from that core frequency. So if your energy is sinking, if you feel that you're being hard on yourself or that a part of your self-confidence has dropped, this Venus retrograde is going to redirect you to new things that will bring you joy, new outlets, new creative endeavors, new things that light you up and focus on pleasure. So know that the Venus retrograde can show you what you possibly missed before, but also can reveal how you're different now, and that maybe what was satisfying before no longer connects. So enjoy the adventure of it and stay open to what it could be. Also, just note that Venus retrograde in Aries and Pisces is going to have heightened sensitivity, and it will require greater self-care and downtime. There'll be a sense here that you want to be left alone, do your own thing, want more time and space to yourself, be more independent, and not be as obligated to others. This is in the collective at this time, so certainly don't take it personally if a friend steps away or cancels, or if you need to do the same, because that's simply what this energy is moving us through and showing us how to fill our own containers, how to be aware of what we need, and to truly listen and trust that without requiring external validation or a lot of support. This Venus retrograde could feel like a lack of support, a lack of connection, and that you're being required to do more on your own and you don't like it or you don't prefer it. Of course, it depends on everyone's chart. It does depend if you have planets or points in Pisces or Aries, because you're being guided to be in your own energy even more. Now, typically, the Aries energy is associated with the initiator, the warrior, the leader, a pioneer who's moving into new territories of creation. Aries is adventure, beginnings, a desire to go forth and see what the future holds. However, with this particular retrograde, there is a softening of these energies. There's a sense of the warrior being comfortable disarming, the initiator stepping back, the leader not needing to forge ahead with a big vision. Rather, you could feel that the energy is more internal, and it might feel good to see it as the softening and the allowing that Aries isn't always comfortable with. But as she returns into Pisces, Venus is understanding that this is a part of her divine journey, and that along the way, she's going to be meeting up with many divine messages and empowering truths that will change her and shift how she feels about herself, what she wants next, and what she desires. But it will be necessary to consciously work with any of that burning passion or burning desire, especially as Aries season will begin on March 20th. And we also have Mercury and Chiron in Aries. So we will have 4 planets in Aries for a period of time. And yet this Venus, because she's softening, it will be essential to burn away what is no longer you or connected to what you need. And you could do this through a beautiful personal fire ceremony of some kind, where you're able to allow the power of fire to burn away what is complete, over, finalized for you. And as it does so, it then opens up space for you to allow the new to arrive and present itself after Venus stations direct on April 12th. So a personal fire ceremony might be very fitting for you if you are really feeling the need to honor not only the Venus retrograde in Aries, but also the strong Aries energy that we will be moving into here throughout March. Of course, not only will the Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Chiron be in Aries, but Neptune enters Aries on March 30th, and we have an Aries solar eclipse on March 29th. So we will need to have responsible, intentional ways of working with these flames of desire, which will cleanse Venus and allow her to be more powerful, more magnetic, more creative as well. So let's get to the transiting aspects here of the Venus retrograde. So as she's stationed retrograde on March 1st, it opens up a period of time where she's literally standing still before moving over territory she's previously covered. And that standstill is about taking a beat, checking in on your life force, your heart, your needs, where you're at, what feels good, what inspires you, and where you're noticing the energy sink, change, or maybe even disappear completely. And it's interesting because after Venus stations retrograde on the 1st of the month, she doesn't have any transiting aspects to other planets for 3 weeks. This doesn't include the moon, because of course the moon is always moving and will be interacting with Venus. So she will have the lunar connections at times, but she doesn't have aspects to any other planet for 3 weeks. She is alone. She is in her own energy, her own consciousness, being refueled, reprogrammed. She's diving into who she is, what she wants to magnetize and create next. And she's getting a 3-week period of independence, sovereignty, reflection, review, listening to who she is, listening to her body and her body consciousness, as Aries is also the energy of the physical self. How we are created and developed into these physical vessels that experience this life force in our bodies. And so she's tuning in to what she embodies, how she's living her life, what suits her, what inspires her. But again, the retrograde is a review. So this could be a 3-week period of time where you're understanding what you want to renovate, redecorate, or recreate, whether that is personally in yourself or in your personal space, at work, in a project, in a connection, in a relationship, whatever the case may be. But Venus is left to her own essence here, and she prefers it in Aries, where she can be in her independent self to hear her own brilliance and more of who she is now. 3 weeks is a long time for Venus to not have aspects to any other transiting planets. And then on March 21st, right after the Aries equinox, when the sun enters Aries on March 20th, kicking off Aries season, then this Venus has a beautiful, empowering sextile to Pluto in new territory at 3 degrees 23 minutes of Aquarius. Pluto hasn't been in this territory of Aquarius for over 250 years. And now Venus, who's in this personal regeneration, sextiles Pluto and has a very powerful insight around who she is, who she truly is. And this is going to give you some downloads, insights, or messages on your own transformational journey around what you want next that you've never had before in your life. It is that big because it's Pluto. It's a sextile, which is supportive of growth, development, next steps. And it's beaming in through the future timelines of Aquarius, gifting you with cosmic insights on these new potentials. I feel that many people during this period of time here, the early degrees of Aries season, are going to have deeper insights into who they came here to be in this lifetime. And that's going to unfold over the following 10 days of Aries season. It's actually going to be a very powerful period of time where people are going to be making life changes, reassessments, new starts based on this is what I want, this is where I'm ready to grow, and there's a rise in courage around the desire to make it happen. So this Venus is feeling the powerful cosmic rays that show her more of who she is that she never saw before. This could also bring something into your life that is fated, destined, meant for you. It has your name on it. It's something that you are meant to understand and experience in this life, whether that is an opportunity, a project, an idea, a person, a partner, a friendship, a connection. Because not only is Venus receiving the sextile from Pluto, March 21st, right after on March 22nd, she has her Venus star point with the Sun. And this occurs at 2 degrees of Aries. The Sun is conjunct retrograde Venus. This is called an inferior conjunction that is also the birthing of a new Venus. And the new Venus cycle unfolds over 8 years. And it's sextiling Pluto in Aquarius. So I'm telling you, this is going to be a time period of being clear in your intentions, manifestations, desires, what you want to pull in that is based on how you love yourself, how you accept yourself, what you're here to experience and share, because this is a big deal. Venus star point, again, at 2 degrees of Aries on March 22nd. It's a new Venus, so think of it similar to a new moon, where the Sun and Venus are conjunct, but the Sun is blazing its light and overpowers Venus. It's important to note that during this time period of a Venus star point, 5 days before and 5 days after the exact conjunction, Venus disappears from sight. She is no longer seen during that 10-day period because the Sun essentially overshines her and she's not visible. She's disappearing behind the curtain. And it's quite fascinating how this just so happens to coincide with how she will transform and move back into Pisces, because she does so on March 27th, 5 days after this Venus star point conjunction with the Sun. So Venus is in a state of deep spiritual and energetic renewal, and her transformation is occurring for each of us at a deeper level of our being, because we're reassessing what we really want and how it relates to what we find meaningful in our lives. So the new Venus inferior conjunction is the Venus star point. And just for reference, the full Venus, when she returns in her fullness at the same degree territory in early Aries, happens 4 years later. So from now until March 2029, this Venus is creating and birthing new areas of herself that will be in their fullness in 4 years. Again, you can think of it as being similar to the lunar cycle, where we have the new moon and then 2 weeks later is the full moon. Here we have a new Venus, and 4 years later is the full Venus. And then after the full Venus, she's in that closing cycle for the next 4 years. So this is why this Venus star point is the beginning of an 8-year cycle. And because it sextiles Pluto, this could be powerful manifestations on what your heart desires. Again, for the first time ever in your life, working with these areas of your chart, this could be something showing up for you that you've been aware of and you've wanted to change. For example, if you want to change your connection to finances or money, if you want to reprogram how you experience abundance, this would be the time to do it. If there's something new you want to create and you feel like you're taking a risk, you're not sure if you're ready or if you can do it, this is the time to go for it, because this is the energy that is showing you the universe is supporting these new parts of yourself that are arising. If you're ready for new friendships, new partnerships, new love relationships, this is also the energy signature of powerful connections, divine connections, soulmates, power couples, true friends, soul sisters. There can be a renewal of what you seek and require in all relationships in your life. So do keep that in mind as well, because this is a powerful initiation based on how you're loving and accepting the truth of who you are, and then of course how you magnetize and pull in those of similar frequency. Now, right after this power period here, we're going to have Venus re-enter Pisces on March 27th. And as she does so, she has an immediate conjunction to Neptune in Pisces. At 29 degrees, 53 minutes of Pisces, Neptune is here at the very end of the full zodiac wheel, at the very end of Pisces, and 3 days later will enter Aries. So here we have Neptune giving Venus a final message that could overwhelm her. Now, that Neptune and Pisces influence is very strong. It's very much that big tidal wave coming in that can overpower and overwhelm. And Venus is receiving what Neptune and Pisces is giving her, that final message that shows her where she's no longer a previous version of herself, of her needs, of how she identified herself to be. That tidal wave comes through and removes anything that's left that she's been holding or carrying, that she's been too afraid to surrender. I feel that this is a huge surrender moment of some kind that also affirms how far you've come, how much you've realized, how much your spiritual path has been awakening you to the truth of your own internal love for yourself. And this conjunction on March 27th could also be a big release point of some kind. There could be beautiful downloads, amazing understandings and connections. You could finally receive something that has been whispering to you, and you realize you get it, you see it, you understand it. And there's also freedom here. There is freedom from what was, freedom from anything that's holding you back from an intentional new start that you really want. So there could also be a lot of emotional energy here. There could be a sense of crying and releasing and you don't know why. There could be a need for more healing or support if your energy is exhausted or you're feeling a lot of fatigue. Venus is being cleansed, and again, it's the final message that could also feel celebratory and acknowledge how much you've grown, healed, and transcended. Now, Venus has re-entered Pisces as of March 27th, and then she'll have a conjunction to the North Node in Pisces at 27 degrees, the beginning of April. April 1st and April 2nd is when it is the most exact. And here she receives supportive understandings of the bigger picture. Why she had to let go, why she had to be complete, why she was done, why she had to surrender, why she has to change, why she has to transition. Because this Venus that's now back in Pisces could feel that she's lost something. There can be not only the fatigue, but grief, confusion, uncertainty, especially during the retrograde. But the North Node in Pisces offers her more to trust, more of herself to embrace and welcome in. And actually now, as I'm tapping into this energy here of late March into early April, some of you might feel that you have a transition in your spirit guides, that you are welcoming in new angels, archangels, spirit team members, that there could be a turnover in the energy you connect with at a soul level that is guiding you. I'm feeling too that there's going to be more downloads of divine feminine and goddess energy on the planet as Venus retrogrades in Pisces and makes these conjunctions to outer planets and the North Node. There's going to be more heart expansions that are especially in the higher heart. That's how I'm seeing it, that higher heart that starts to expand the aura. I'm also seeing that energy rise up, and it's deeply connected to the crown chakra. So we're receiving these downloads of deep compassion, unconditional love, acceptance, and a remembrance that we came here to love each other more, to accept each other's soul growth, soul journey, to detach and be able to hold the higher frequencies even more for the betterment of humanity and the collective, to rise up out of our self-identity and the ego state that separates us and keeps us individual, and instead brings us into the higher wisdom of unity consciousness and how we can flood the planet with these frequencies with our powerful sovereignty and free will. This, of course, would be an intentional practice, but can also calm any inflammatory developments, topics, actions, and unexpected alliances that are likely to unfold in the coming months. So Venus returns to the goddess, and I feel that her energy there is meant to connect us to more of our higher self wisdom and the energies of the soul essence that we can detach from. This feels like that deep reconnection. And of course, reconnection is a Venus retrograde word. So what do you wish to reconnect with in the Pisces realms that would be good for your human spirit, that would be good for you at an emotional, physical level? What would support soothing, calming, and loving yourself? And how can you allow these Piscean influences to provide those frequencies into your life? Then, as Venus continues in April, she's going to have a trine on April 6th to Mars in Cancer at 25 degrees. Now, 25 degrees is an important point here because she has that trine, and here is Mars understanding more of who he is at his emotional core. Mars, of course, has been through his own intense retrograde journey. He's still in the shadow territory, but he is stronger and more focused. And that trine between Venus retrograde and Mars is supportive, loving, kind. There is an empathy between the two. There is shared intuition and a heart connection here, as they're both in water signs and more aware of what they're feeling. That could be a good day for clearing the air with someone, revisiting any issues or tension, and just having a desire to work through anything that previously held a lot of angst, anger, or tension. Now keep in mind the next day, April 7th, Venus retrograde is conjunct Saturn in Pisces at 25 degrees and sextiling Uranus in Taurus at 25 degrees. So there's a lot going on here at 25 degrees of Pisces, also 25 degrees of the earth signs and the water signs. So when she has that conjunction to Saturn in Pisces, that is a reality check, a heaviness. There's a sense of, I need to take care of this. I need to do something that I've been avoiding and pushing away. I need to tend to this and be responsible. But the sextile to Uranus in Taurus, and Taurus, of course, being ruled by Venus, gives her the desire to make a change, to take it on and move it forward. Where if there's something weighing heavily on you and affecting your emotional self, your intuition, your creative essence, I feel that there's a spark here that Uranus in Taurus provides through the sextile that opens up the solution, pathway, resources, and simplifies whatever is chaotic and messy. Taurus is wonderful at saying it's really easy, just do this and you're good. It will simplify the complexities because that Pisces energy can get lost. It gets lost in all the confusion. What's going on? I don't know how to face this. I don't know how to tackle this. I don't know what to do. So instead of this being a typically difficult aspect with Venus conjunct Saturn, the sextile to Uranus and the trine from Mars in Cancer reveals that she's ready for the change. She can handle it. She has support from Mars, and Uranus is showing her it's actually not that big a deal. This could also be an instance where the anticipation is bigger than the reality, or something you didn't know how to organize or figure out or create. You get a breakthrough here as Uranus sextiles Venus and the unexpected options present themselves. Again, that is April 6th and April 7th when Venus is at 25 degrees of Pisces. Then she is by herself again for the next few days, and she stations direct on April 12th. That occurs at 9:02 p.m. Eastern at 24 degrees, 37 minutes of Pisces. Now, as she stations direct here, April 12th, she's still conjunct Saturn and sextiling Uranus in Taurus as she stations direct. She's still in connection with these bigger consciousness fields, and it lasts into the second half of April. So there's going to be a theme here that begins in April that continues to present and sort itself out throughout April, and is part of Venus and her deep reprogramming. Her journey through Pisces is intense, and even though she's exalted in Pisces, there is more here that she's meant to listen to and hear and really own it. To not push it away or float away or disappear. She's meant to really bring it into her body, herself, and her power so that she's aware of the vast shift that she's meant to experience in April. Now, I will have part 3 for you on the Venus retrograde journey, where we will discuss her station direct there on April 12th, as well as how she is still in connection to Saturn and Uranus during that station direct. So we'll go into that as the time approaches. Also, please note that I'll be discussing Venus even more in the weekly Wednesday podcast, which is where I discuss the energies of each week. But remember, here in March, she doesn't have any aspects until she meets up with Pluto in Aquarius on March 21st. So 3 weeks in March, this Venus retrograde in Aries is doing her own thing, listening to herself, tapping in to more of her own depths of what she wants to start and begin. Also, really tuning into her creation abilities and what that means to her now at this point in her life. I have more videos for you on YouTube discussing this Venus retrograde because it is one of the biggest Venus retrogrades we've had in years. It's coinciding with eclipse season as well as Mercury retrograde across the same territory in your chart. Back in February, I did 2 live workshops for you on the significance of this time period as Venus is moving through her new soul beginning points. Those 2 workshops are still available, including all the videos I have for you in that program. There's 5 pre-recorded videos, and they're discussing in depth more about what is going on in the Pisces areas of your chart with Neptune, Saturn, and the North Node, as well as the Aries areas of your chart that are bringing new parts of yourself to life. So please check out that program, and I hope you enjoy all the content, all the depth of information as it applies to you, and also the energy of other people in those live workshops, because it was really awesome to connect with so many of you from all over the globe. So wishing you a beautiful Venus retrograde journey here as we do some deep internal reprogramming, reconnect to our goddess and god selves, and then see what emerges on the other side that is more powerful and more true to who we came to be in this lifetime. As always, I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday with a new podcast episode for you. And be sure to check out my YouTube channel where you can find more of these videos discussing Venus as well. Have a beautiful day ahead, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.